first and foremost, if you do have these guys right here, please put it on mute or silent, or if you really don't need it, just shut it off. Because today is about ourselves, not about the world outside. As usual, the first lecture is about the main subject. It's always connect, right? So, illusions and disillusions. To forgive is necessary to get rid of illusions. This comes from the book Cure and Self-Cure of Dr. Andre Moreira. Why do we get these illusions? Why we say, oh, that was not what I thought? Because in the first place, we have illusions. We have illusions about who we are. We have illusions about what we're doing, what we deserve, our place in life, our duties, and what life owns us. So, first of all, let's think about our illusions and what illusion is. As a noun, it's a thing that is or is likely to be wrongly perceived or interpreted by senses. It's a deceptive appearance of impression, a false idea of belief. I like the idea of illusion being triggered by our perception. And mainly, most of our thoughts and most of our genes, we, in the past century, we were taught that we are controlled by our genes. You're just like your brother, you're just like your grandpa, you're just like you have the temper of your uncle, and everything is on our genes. So they forgot to tell us that what triggers the genes is our perception. The way they will understand things that come to us make us react this or that way, make us think about ourselves this or that way. And that creates some illusions about ourselves. We are used to be so nice when we are among other people. But think about the way that you act when you are at home. Who never heard, oh yes, you're so good with other people, but here you show your real colors. Yeah, maybe because you really don't know what colors are you showing all the time and who you are per se. It's not easy. It's not easy. Think about it. We have 65,000 thoughts a day, and those 65,000 thoughts creates a lot of confusion because we don't control them. We should at least try to control, but we don't control them. They control us. And that creates another illusion that we are in control when we're not. But the first illusion that we need to get rid of is that we are those nice people that are here to do good to everyone, every time. If we are on the planet Earth, that means that we're really no good. We are here to help ourselves to get better. But we're not saints, we're not missionaries, we are just regular, like we say, G.I. Joes, right? They're here to learn, to get better, and maybe get a better opportunity in the next life, if we do something good in this life. But normally, what happens is, our mind is full of repression, full of suppression, and above all, fantasies. Why? Because since our early age, since we are kids, everything that is people tells us, especially our parents, turn out to be our beliefs. Like when you're 3, 4, 5, up to 7, when your personality or your ego is ready, everything that your dad says, everything that your mom says, turn out to be true. Because they are your model, your role model. And if they say something, even if they don't think what they're saying, that affects you, you believe to an extent that it will be your belief for a long time. So maybe that's why we have some thoughts or some belief that everything is going good. something wrong's going to happen. Oh, I'm doing well in life. Better be prepared for a loss. I don't deserve. Why? We don't think about this. But this is something that we are being introjecting to ourselves as an emotion, but in the format of thoughts. And we keep repeating those and repeating those up to a point that the brain believes in it. Because our brain is a mechanism. It's not something that has a life on its own. We control it or not. So if you repeat the same thing over and over and over, even if it's a lie, have you heard that a lie told 1,000 times turned out to be the truth? That's how it is. If you tell your brain 1,000 times the same lie, it will change. And we need to be aware of that because we tell so many lies to ourselves and we start creating an illusion of who we are, which, as a matter of fact, is who we are not. And then, well, that's where problem starts. Because we struggle to understand life the way it is. We struggle to understand our tests the way they were crafted, mainly by us. We struggle to understand that most of the diseases, most of the sickness that we have, we create. It's not something that God sent us. It's not something that came from past lives. It's something that is happening here because we didn't control our thoughts, meaning we didn't control the feelings that the thoughts create, and that will make our body sick. We have an idealized vision of life. Normally we say it's my way or the highway. No, I don't say that. Yes, we do. Be honest. Maybe not in all senses, but sometimes that's something. I have to draw a line right here. Why? Is it necessary? Or is something that is going against your pride? Is something that goes against your education per se? What's happening? What's going on? Why do you have to shape everything the way you see? Did you realize that you have a gap in between your eyes? What that means? That probably we should not see the whole picture as one. Your brain takes care of this gap. So it interprets this gap and it completes. And that's what we do. We complete something that is not full, that is not complete. And we complete with what? Our perception, our way of seeing things, our illusion that the way that we see the things is the perfect way, when it's not. Our repression, suppressions come from our family, from our culture, from our society. The problem about human beings, it's not a problem, but it's a need that all psychologists learn early when they study. We have a need for love, and we have a need for belong. And to do that, we do a lot of bad things. We do a lot of things that we don't think about. To belong to a certain group, to belong to a certain society, to belong to a manager's role, or to a manager's group, or a director's role at work. What do you do to be there? What kind of things that you know that is not that right that you will do to be there? The other day, of course, you're getting old, you're getting more responses, but the other day, I think I was talking to my wife, and she was saying about one HR interview that she had, and the lady asked her, so what kind of person you are? You are the one that comes here to work from 8 to 5? Or you're the person that comes, that willing to come here earlier, get out late, in name of doing the best for your company, to work differently, to, go the extra mile? And of course, then in our brain, we're going to say, yeah, to get this job, I have to answer B. But with wisdom, or with a little bit of knowledge, you can answer differently. No, I'm the kind of person that works 5 hours and do everything that you can do in 10 hours in 5. I bet that the HR person is going to look at you and say, excuse me? What? She's not going to, expect that kind of. And this will trigger a different way, a different perception about yourself. Yeah, I can do whatever you do in 5 hours. I don't need to stay here 9 hours. So I'm the kind of person that come here to do my job and do it right and do it perfect and come back home. Because I do have a life. Hello? I do have a life. So that's the kind of way that we need to understand our life. We have responses. But if we always try to react instead of proact in those responses, we're always going to give the same response over and over. And then we're going to keep the illusion that we're going to the right place, that we're doing the right thing, and so many things that are not right. That doesn't make us feel full, complete. We try to fit life and situations into our mental pattern, into our shape pattern, which is different because who told you that your pattern is the universal one? Who told you that you have the answers for everything? We try to do that, to don't get overwhelmed. I understand that. But in that sense, the one that knows a little bit more has the opportunity to think different, to start defying this kind of status quo that you create for yourself since you were young, since you learned so many things. Shakespeare. Forgive me my brush English because this is really hard to read, but I'm going to try. Canst thou not minister to a mind disease, pluck from a memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the ridden troubles of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious antidote cleanse the fraud bosom of the perilous stuff in which waits upon the heart? There is no antidote. There is no medicine. There is no way to take from ourselves the heavy weight that we put to us. Because if there was a ibuprofen that we can take for anger, for sentiments of resentment and stuff, probably the pharmacies will be packed. There is no ibuprofen. There is no generic medicine to that. Unfortunately, no, fortunately, because then we need to find our way to do that. Because medicine just, covers the problem, doesn't go to the root of it. And that's why we need to go. That's why we need to find ourselves at. Repressed emotions are etched in our body. To understand the repressed emotions is to know our identity. I don't have repressed emotions. No. So let me tell you something. Every time you feel that you are in your edge of angry, of your really rage, and the situation doesn't call for that kind of attitude, doesn't call for that kind of response. You normally see in yourself and something that you don't like in yourself and the other person. Psychologists call this a shadow effect. So when we have kids, we see that a lot because that's sometimes they're given a really bad reprimand and then you stop saying, why am I being so bad or so, harsh with my kid? It's because he is mimicking what you don't like in yourself. And when you see something that you don't admit that you have, you are the worst judge ever. Because it's the will that you have to do it yourself and you can't because you're hidden. So the repressed emotions are the ones that we need to understand that we have, make peace with them, and start working with them. Repressed emotions are those we do not want to hear, are those who give little importance to. However, it is they who gain the most strength. The ones that we put under the couch, and when you're going to visit again, it's not in the couch, it's all over the house. Because as you didn't take care of it, it creates a life on its own. And it's haunting you. And you don't even know. So if we understand that we have to take care of ourselves, like the first lecture just told us, we are the ones responsible for that, not anybody else. It's not your bad luck. It's not your karma. It's not the, injustice of life. Mostly it's everything that we create for ourselves. And now we have to deal. Who pain is it? Who feel the pain? Us, right? The pain is ours. All pain is a signaling of the interior of the person, message of defense and preservation that attempts to a danger or aggression of any nature. So, you're not recording, all right, Alex? No, okay, so when we say in the Spirit Center that pain is helpful, or pain is something that helps us to progress, we're not being masochists. I don't think that anybody here likes to suffer. Although everybody comes to a center because they are suffering. But I don't think that anybody likes to suffer. So pain is just a way to say, hello, something's wrong. Come on, do something. And if you don't, what happens? You get sick. So you're going to get a timeout to think about. See, technology is amazing. You're gonna get a timeout. And if you don't pay attention to this timeout, you will get bigger and bigger and bigger to a point that you can develop a cancer, you can develop a tumor, you can develop really bad diseases because you keep insisting in keeping the same feeling over and over and over. Think about it, my friends. Any kind of feeling creates a chemical reaction inside your body. If you're keeping that for a long time, this chemical reaction is being accumulated inside your body up to a point that you get an overdose of that substance. The overdose is going to make you sick. Simple as that. And whose fault is that? Whose pain is that? It's ours. We do that because we don't want to go deeper. We just want to live in the surface. We just want to live day after day after day. No. We're here for something better. We're here to understand a little better. And with knowledge comes responsibility. So you better believe in that too. With knowledge comes responsibility. There are many pains hidden in the meanders of the soul that hinder the flow of life. Everybody hears a lot of nice terminology these days that comes from coaching, that comes from speeches, from keynote speakers. So one of them is like flow. You have to be in a state of flow to work the best. Yeah, but we do pretty much everything that we can to stop the flow. We don't do it. We just block the flow. We block the river. We block the energy because we don't understand that our thoughts are the ones that can create or destroy our body. There are no facts, my friends, only interpretation. So, again, going back to perception, the way you see life is the way life is. I can spend a week trying to make somebody understand that what she or he is doing is wrong, or she or he is sick. And if they don't assume that, if they don't see that, they're not. You are what you believe in. If I don't believe that I'm sick, I'm not sick, period. You're not going to convince me by talking to me. You have to understand yourself. You have to go deeper. You have to understand and make truth through this kind of stuff. Yes, I'm sick. Not in just one way. I have multiple sickness, but let's try to heal one at a time. Because I cannot take care of everything in once. But we have to understand that. What is he telling us? Where you pay attention to is where your life goes. There are no facts. There are only interpretations. And we are trying to convince people by showing the cold, hard facts. It's not going to work. I believe that the unity of mind and body is an objective reality. They are not just parts somehow related to each other, but inseparable, whole-wide functioning. A brain without a body could not think. Isn't that fantastic? It's amazing. He's a doctor of science from Sorbonne, France. And what he's saying here is body and mind are not different realities. They form a unity. Nothing happens in the mind without being reflected in the body, as we talk right here. And nothing happens in the body without being reflected in the mind. It's a connection. So pay attention to what you do. Pay attention to how you take care of your body and how you take care of your brain. Because it's mens sana in corpore sano. As the ancient used to say, you have to take care of that. You have to understand the need of keep a unity, a unified thought, a unified feeling. That's mostly about feelings, because when I talk to people on counseling here about Spiritism and they don't know anything about Spiritism, I have to go to the basic level, which is energy. So if you understand energy, I'm talking to you, I'm sending some waves of energy. You're thinking, you're projecting some energy. You're talking the same way. And as we are polarized by energy, our spirits are made of energy. And energy doesn't go anywhere. The energy doesn't disappear, doesn't die. So if energy doesn't die, spirits don't die, so far and so on. So what kind of energy are you putting in your bodies every day? That will dictate how your day will be. Are you waking up cursing? Are you waking up in a bad mood? I know a lot of people that hates to wake up early. But if you do need to wake up early, you have two options. Curse, and probably that's where your day will go. You're sending messages to your brain. Yeah, go get more information about cursing life. Go get more reasons for me to keep on cursing. And your day is going to be pretty bad. But if you wake up and you start doing at least pray or find ways to thank for the things that you have. Even the alarm that wake you up at 5:40 in the morning. You change your way of understanding things. And you change your way that you're telling your brain, because your brain is a machine of finding meaning. If you do that all the time, your day's going to get better because your focus is going to be there. And your focus will direct your body, and your body's going to feel better. And the other way around, when you go to a gym, there's people that is crazy about fitness and stuff. But most of us, I'm not talking to you, Noel, but most of us, when we go to a gym, the first thought is, our ego say, yeah, maybe tomorrow. Yeah. But then you force yourself and you go, and when you leave the gym, you're feeling $1 million. Why? Because your body is telling your brain that you're good. And that's the way you influence your brain as well. And that's the way that you have to keep the unicity of both. The sanity of the brain goes through the sanity or the healing of your body as well. Otherwise, you're going to develop what we call the psychosomatic diseases. This is all we can get by not controlling or administrating right our thoughts. Some pretty good things: anxiety, anguish, depression, dysthymia, schizophrenia, madness, oppression, paranoia, panic syndrome, suicide, and OCD. Fantastic. It's a great cocktail, right? Everybody can get that. Do you want it? With your conscious brain? Yes, we do not want it. But with your subliminal brain, your emotional brain, that's what we've been doing without noticing. We've been creating these little friends right there in one way or another, in one capacity or another, just by not understanding that if we don't control the way we feel, if we don't understand the way we feel, we're going to get sick somehow. And sometimes sickness can be really bad, because after 1 or 2 times that you get a timeout, the timeout is going to increase from 2 days to a week to a month, and sometimes to your lifetime. So we better understand that. We better know that we can control that. But the way to do that is jumping inside ourselves. It's looking to ourselves internally, not the external. Alex, I'm going to put the video. If it's too loud, let me know, okay?
You are about to hear a strange but true story. Legend has it, Harry Houdini, the master magician, once claimed that he could break out of any jail cell in the world. All he had to do was walk into that jail cell with his street clothes on. "I'll be out of there in 1 hour, no problem," he said. Well, a very old jail down south heard about Houdini's claims, and they accepted his challenge. On the day of the event, many people gathered outside. Very confidently, Houdini walked right into the jail and into the cell, and they shut the metal doors behind him. The first thing Houdini did was he took off his coat. Then, very strangely, he took off his belt. Secretly hidden in Houdini's belt was a 10-inch piece of steel, very tough and very flexible. And Houdini started working. In about 30 minutes, that confident expression Houdini had when he walked in disappeared. In 1 hour, he was bathed in sweat. And at the end of 2 hours, Houdini, in defeat, collapsed against the door, which then opened. It opened because, you see, that door had never been locked. But that's not entirely true, is it? That door was locked. It was firmly and thoroughly locked in Houdini's mind, which meant it was locked as if the best locksmith in the world had put his lock on it. The mind is powerful. How many doors in your life do you think are locked but aren't? How many times have you been stuck in the mental prison of overthinking something that really had a simple solution? There is an ancient African proverb that says, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Your mind is the most powerful force you will ever face. It will tell you lies. It will tell you you can't do that. You're not meant for that. You're not good enough for that. You can't go on anymore. You don't have the energy. You must thank it for its opinion and carry on. Because like Houdini showed us, the only locked doors that exist are in your own mind. The doors in reality are open. And all you have to do is walk through.
All we have to do is walk through. And why don't we do it? Because we have the illusion. Are we talking about illusions, right? We have the illusion that the door is locked. Somebody told us, our dad, our mom, our friends told us their experience, not ours, their experience. And we believe to extent that you make this your own. We make this our own. And then we shut the door. The door was always open. The door is still open for everything that we can do and we want to do. But we need to know, are we playing Houdini? Are we trying to be a magician? Or, because what does a magician do? Create illusions that pretend to be reality, right? What do? We've been playing Houdini for a long time. We've been playing Houdini for an extent of time. And sometimes we are sick of it and we change. But we need to be in a state of such pain to do that is not even fun. We can understand that everything is inside our brain, but we have to jump in. We have to understand and we have to accept who we are, as we are. This is really hard. It's not about looking at yourself in the mirror and start, saying some sentences. You're great, you're this, you're that. Yeah, you're going to believe in that. But that's not going to change you. What's going to change you is understand where your flaws are. And how can you get rid of some of them? How can you get rid of illusions of, I'm such a great person. I'm such this or that. You have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving yourselves and see what happens. Try approving. What is approving? It's not make peace with, oh, I'm like this, I'm never going to change. But yes, I'm like this, and let's try to change. This is make truth to yourself. This make peace to yourself. This is approve yourself. I'm like this. Okay. That's a point to start. And then I'm going to move on. But if I don't know who I am, how can I change? Self-love, self-respect, and self-worth. That is the reason why they all start with self. You cannot find them in anyone else. And when we mingle with a lot of other people, with some societies or some groups that you desperately want to be in, you're not yourself anymore. So you don't know what you're doing. You're just doing because everybody does. So you are just like repeating the monkey see, monkey do, right? We're not monkeys. We can do a lot different than that. We can do a lot better than that. But we have to understand ourselves. We live 90% of the day with our ego. Ego is our persona. It's our mask that we create to face the world. Because we feel that without it, we are too weak. And the world can destroy us. So you create a barrier. You create a persona. You create your ego. It's time to tell your ego, hey buddy, chill. Give me some space because I need to work on myself. I need to work inside. I need to work in my flaws, and then we're going to keep on going. Ego is going to be forever with us. But when it got sick, then this is really hard. And I talked about this in the last lecture, if you were here. Egoism, the sickness of the ego. You aren't what's happened to you. You are how you overcome it. A great friend of mine, he's a great speaker. He tells me, Peter, I worked for a long time for such company, and the guys that were my peers as speakers didn't understand that people doesn't come to see the cake formula per se. They want to know. They don't want to know how you are so great, what you did to be so great. They want to know how you get rid of hard times. That's what they're here for. To hear what did we do to overcome our troubles. Because then they can find a clue and they can try to change. So mostly we want to know that people that are talking to us are human as us, but if they overcome, I can overcome as well. I can change as well. I can do something different as well. Forgiveness, self-approval, and self-acceptance. Those are the keys. You have to accept yourself, to forgive yourself. And without forgiveness, it's really hard to keep on going. It's really hard to forgive anybody else or anything that happens in your life. How often should I forgive? Matthew 18, 21, 22. What the Bible says. How often? 7 times what? 7 times 70. It's probably 7 times 7 million times. Because it's just a figure of speech. You have to forgive as much as you can. Because you don't know who, where, and what you did. And why it's happening to you. You only know that it's happening to you. If it's happening to you, and you start saying, oh, why didn't that happen to her? Well, because it's for you. It's crafted for you. This is a test for you. This is a lesson to be learned. And you're trying to give to somebody else? That doesn't make sense. So start forgiving yourself and start forgiving the others as well. Forgiveness is the ability to apprehend the other in the fullness of his dignity, his rights, and above all, his difference. Yes, we are different from one to the other. And that means that we don't have the same thoughts, we don't have the same pattern of understanding, we don't have the same smell, we don't have the same color, we don't eat the same food, so far and so on. And even so, we have to respect, we have to embrace. Forgiveness heals, cures, restores. Frei Beto was a Dominican friar in Brazil, and he got a literature prize with one of his books. So he studies a lot, and that's his conclusion, that everything is about forgiveness. It's about learning how to forgive yourself and the others. I do not forgive because this is up to God. Easy, right? I don't need to forgive. God forgives. So everything's okay. I'm set. How many times have we heard that? Or maybe we said that. Forgiveness is up to us, not to God. If God doesn't forgive us, we're probably not going to be even existing. Because we did so much wrong things in the past, in our past lives, that we're probably not going to be here. So forgiveness is about us, to ourselves and to each other. We have to develop this feeling. We have to develop this sentiment. We have to embrace that. That's the only way to heal ourselves and heal other people. In order to forgive, it is necessary to know yourself deeply. How can you know yourself deeply if you don't assume that you have problems, that you have some characteristics that are not good? If you think of yourself as a perfect person or as a person that doesn't have this or that, it's hard because you don't know yourself. How to change? By changing the interpretation of the fact, you change the fact itself. I used to give an easy example, but you can relate to any other one, and if you do have one, please shout it out. You have a boss that yells to everyone. Nobody has that, right? And then he comes and yells to you. And you feel angry. Why? Don't you know that your boss yells to everyone? Why not you? And whose fault is that? It's not yours. Your boss has a problem. He have a problem. Don't you see? Why are you going to take this gift that doesn't belong to you and get angry with that? Why? Because we don't think. Because in the middle of the workplace where your peers are, you feel that you've been humiliated because your boss yelled to you. So first of all, you feel that you feel yourself as superior because then you got humiliated. If you don't feel yourself superior to anybody, you're not going to get humiliated because there's nothing to be humiliated. There's no humiliation. You're working. The person is sick. And sick person will do something that is not right. And all you can do at this point is don't take the offense. Don't get mad. We can relate this to some other examples in life, right? Why do we take so easily some fights that are not ours? Why don't we understand that the person that comes to you trying to fight is sick somehow? Is sick. Not will be forever. In that particular moment, that changes. We change. But in that particular moment, why are you going to take this fight? What is it going to take for you to change, to understand differently? Spiritism proposed the transparent lens of self-knowledge and personal accountability. Okay? She's yelling at me because I left a lot of pans and dishes on a sink. And I'm as tired as she is. Why is she yelling? Is she crazy? Can't you see that I'm tired? Well, but who left the pans and the stuff on the sink? Was it her or was it you? Take the accountability. It was you. It's hard. And why I'm saying that? Because that happens to me today. And I didn't take the accountability. And now I'm seeing that say, hello. Understand. And that's why we do these lectures, because it's mostly for us. To understand again and again and again. You did wrong again. But you're going to have another time. You're going to have another chance. Easy things like this can progress to be big things. But we need to check, we need to try, we need to start, we need to realize, we need to find out. When do I realize that? Right here, right now. Why did I say? Because it's a way for me to heal that thing. Can we do that ourselves? To most of our trouble? I think we can, right? Spiritist book, question 919. What is the most efficacious method of ensuring one's own moral improvement in the present life and resisting the attraction of evil? Does anybody know this? One of the sages of antiquity has told you, man, know thyself. Delphos oracle has this. This comes from ancient times, and so far we are resistant in knowing ourselves. How long is that going to last? Until we understand it. Until we embrace that. Until we engrave that in our brains, in our souls, in our hearts. Know yourself first. Then know somebody else. Then try to know life. Then try to accept others. If you don't know yourself, it's going to be really hard. One of the greatest problems of modern men, and that leads him to stress, depression, and all kinds of diseases, is undoubtedly the ignorance of himself. The answer was being given by St. Augustine, one of the most lucid spirits in this planet has ever received. Understanding the moral effects of our choices and actions and the extent of the physical and spiritual effects of our emotional experiences. How did he do this? What is the formula? Again, we are getting too close from science to lectures from people that are studying coaching and stuff. We are getting really close to each other. Right now, science is talking about SQ, spirits coaching. So, in no time, we are being talking the same way about the same things.
Mode and the direct mode. Default I call autopilot. That's like when your thoughts drift, it's when you're on autopilot, it's when you go through your day without even thinking. The direct mode is the mode where you're present, where you're in the moment, where you're controlling what you think about, okay? And I'm going to teach you to catch yourself when you're on autopilot or default and to take control of what you're thinking about and switch into the direct mode when you need to. And the reason why this is important has to do with a question that we get all the time. What can I do to teach myself to stop thinking worst case scenarios when it comes to making changes in my life? How many of you can relate to that? You know you want to make changes, you got a lot you want to do in your life, but then you start thinking about those changes and you immediately start catastrophizing. You start worrying, you start thinking about all the reasons why it's not going to happen. This is so common, and the reason why it's common is because somebody in your past either trained you to think this way, or you've had so many bad things happen that you've trained yourself to assume and predict that bad things are always going to happen to you. And that is a terrible, terrible way to live your life. And I know a lot of you do. And so we want to change that. And the reason why it's a terrible way to live your life is because there will be bad things that happen. There will. It's a fact of life. But if you are constantly allowing your mind to default to thinking that bad things will happen, or thinking that you're out of shape, or thinking that you're a loser, or thinking that you're not worthy, or thinking that things aren't going to turn out, it becomes your default mode of thinking. The default mode network is a series of neurons in your brain that has automated certain things, okay? And the reason why we have a default mode network is because we need it. When you learn how to do things on default, you can do them without thinking. Very important for you so that you're not taxing your brain all day. When you learn to write with your right hand or your left hand, it becomes part of the default mode network. The problem is thinking patterns become part of your default mode network. So if you're someone who wakes up and you have all these dreams and aspirations, but your default mode is to think about the worst case scenario. Your default mode is to say, I'm an imposter, I'm a loser, I'm not likable, nobody likes me, I'm not lovable. It has become part of your default mode network. And it's super important for you to realize that just like I could go from being a right-hander and teach myself how to be a left-hander, it is the exact same process for you to go from somebody who defaults to thinking negative garbage to becoming somebody who thinks directly. It is going to be a process, not an event. This is the work of changing the patterns in your mind. There's no other way to do it. Now, a couple things I want you to do today. I want you to realize that you are in default mode, a 46.5 9% of the time. That's half of the day you're in autopilot mode. That's fine when autopilot are just kind of the things like writing or driving a car or drinking a cup of coffee or pulling on your pants. It's not a good thing when the default mode is I suck, life isn't going to turn out, nobody loves me, I can't do anything right, I'm not worthy. Autopilot's great when it's helpful. It's horrendous for you when it is working against you. Visualization is training you to go from default to direct. That's why it works. Visualization is a form of going from the default mode where you think negative to a direct mode where you're in the right now and you're directing your thoughts and you're in control of what you're thinking. Project yourself into a future state where your self-worth is awesome. What are the things that you do when you live in that state? And that visualization and jumping into the future should give you a clue as to what changes you need to make right now. So today I want to take it a step further. Today, all I want you to do is I want you, as you go out throughout your day, I want you to notice when your thoughts drift. As you go through your day and things are happening, I want you to notice, am I present or am I drifting and saying something that's really nasty to myself? And if you do catch yourself saying something nasty to yourself, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start to write down what is your version of nasty. What is the default mode that got programmed into your brain a long time ago? Maybe it was your mother who said terrible things to you. Maybe it was your father who was abusive. Maybe you were in a relationship that destroyed you. Maybe you had an emotionally abusive boss. Maybe you got a divorce and you feel like you're unlovable. Whatever it is, there's a default mode that you have that we got to get rid of, seriously. And the way that we're going to get rid of it is we got to unearth it. So today, I want you to pay attention. This is going to be a very confronting exercise for a lot of you, because when you shine the spotlight on things that are underneath the surface, you can start to feel heavy. It's normal.
Difference is that she's telling us to look at the future, and we are telling, and Spiritism is telling us to look inside. That's the difference. But that's the thing. We are realizing over and over that we have this default thoughts, we have this network of thinking bad things, and we have to get rid of that. The only way is to look at ourselves and approve ourselves and forgive ourselves. And by forgiving, we can live life fully. We can live life without default thoughts. Thank you, my friends.